Welcome to ATB-TV. I'm Darren Dance here with Peter Morganti at Michelle Payne's stables this week, and there's a little bit of background noise because it's probably about 15 degrees and quite windy here, Pete.
25 degrees hotter about 36 hours ago, Darren, so Ballarat at its best, but I think it's Victoria wide.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cold shut, but you've been busy on the camera this week, Pete, and we're going to bring you an interview later on that Pete did with Robbie Griffiths earlier this week, and a little bit of undercover work now to dispel the myth that trainer Michelle Payne spends all her time on racing.com and out for lunch. Here's a little vision Pete caught up just a few minutes ago. Well, there you go, Pete. She does get her hands dirty.
Question, did you see Darren Weir picking up poo?
I don't think I've ever seen Darren Weir with a fork unless he was trying to whack someone over the head with it.
Yeah, I don't know where the staff have gone, maybe.
There's no staff here.
They've all disappeared. Michelle's going to do all the work.
She's out picking up the paddock, so there you go.
So there you go.
I think it's fair to say that these trainers, they work a lot harder than probably people realise.
I find
long hours.
Control freaks a bit, they are.
Control freaks?
Yeah, they just don't like things out of place.
Oh, I think they just take pride in their work, Pete.
No, that's probably more the point.
You know, take pride. You know, you see something not right, you don't go home, you stay out and fix it.
Fix it, especially if the staff haven't fixed it for you.
Yeah, so you know, you want your place looking good, and I guess we're all, we're all like that. And you see something, you just go and do it. So that's good to see Michelle out there having a go, and a couple of updates on the horses we got with her. So it's good. Let's now, before we get into last week's runners.
Yes.
ATB, we've been going for about 24 years.
Long time.
And
half my age.
I think we've got a first here, Pete. We've often got a lot of photos and videos of owners doing different things, but I don't think I've ever seen a photo of an owner in this position before, under surveillance by the water police. Have a look at this photo. Now, what do you reckon's going on there, Pete?
I'd hate to know.
Do you think they're stealing abalone or illegal fishing or...
Top end of Australia.
Up in Darwin it was last weekend. Made the TV, made the papers, it's on the website.
Could be one of a few things going on there, Darren.
Now, you know when you're in a horse with, you're not allowed to have a criminal record.
Yeah, well,
that's the rules of racing.
There's going to be a lot of horses up for sale.
We might have to do a bit more digging there, Pete, what was going on there.
Interesting.
I couldn't really make out the other two blokes in there, but I don't know if John Marnie was involved in that or whether... Who was involved in that?
Well, we might have to ring up the lockup to find out.
Yeah, we might have to do a bit of work. That's a first rate TB, eh? Yeah. The water police chasing one of our owners around.
Interesting.
So
I'm sure we'll get another version of this
story. Probably a good way for us to do a bit of debt collecting. Engage the water police. Get their attention.
Especially for the North End owners.
Well, anyway, that's a bit of fun. Yeah. Alright, let's go through last week's runners. Pete, where do you want to start?
We'll go back to Australia. We had Red Handle at Doomben. Ran 6, but it was just a plain effort, Darren.
Yeah, she's lost all... Well, I wouldn't say she's lost all form, but she certainly doesn't show she's going to win a race. So that's it for Red Handle. She's been retired, and she'll go through the broodmare sale up in the Gold Coast in May.
Yep. So she won 3 races.
Yeah, she showed a lot early, and I just figured there might be something deep-seated there that she works well, but under race pressure just can't perform, or whether that's just her level. So at this stage, she's gone, she's finished, and she'll be moved on.
Yep. The following day, he went to Caulfield, My Shiny Choice. Things just didn't work out there for him, up in grade, and look, just no luck for the gate. Ran accordingly. Yeah,
I think it was, he was certainly up in grade. And I think for him to be competitive in that race, he needed cover, and he needed to slot in somewhere. And he tried to slot in, but there was nowhere to go, so he ended up outside the leader. And every time we've done that, he's ran poorly, and that was no exception. So, as Robbie said, got to rule a line through that run.
Exactly.
Running out of pencils.
Had a couple of those rule the lines.
We're running out of pencils.
He'll, I think there's a race tomorrow week at Pakenham where he performs well, and I think as Robbie says, we can draw a gate.
Got to get a gate. Got to get
covered up, and away he goes. And that'll be back to a 64 as well.
If he draws wide, Pete, I don't even expect you to ring me. I just expect yours to be scratched.
The following day, we had another nice little performance by Fox Largo, who finished third on what was an extremely hot day, but she seemed to get through that all right. And
was that Australia Day? No, that was Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the third day of the heat wave.
Yeah.
They brought the races forward, thanks Philly. I think when we pulled them to the Geelong course, it was about 37. And 30 minutes after the race, it was 43. So she ran well, Pete. There was only 2 3-year-old fillies in that race. The rest were older mares. And for her to run third there was quite good. Her last 50 metres was exceptional.
Excellent.
And I think she's a classy filly in the making. She would have learned a lot out of that race by running in amongst horses, which is probably not her go, but it'll teach her a lot. And I'm thinking next start over a mile.
Yeah, there's a few options.
And then maybe later on in the year we might be aiming a little bit higher with her.
Yep.
She looks a very, very promising filly, Fox Lane.
For sure. Yesterday I ventured to Ballarat. We've had Perugia run second now.
Coming off a really poor effort on a hot day.
On a hot day, and decided to be a bit more positive and ride closer to the front, which, look, he ran second, he ran well. The winner was just too good, come off our back, but he certainly, as Jai McNeil would have mentioned the owners, he was on his wrong foot in the straight, and then when he straightened up the last 100, he actually got through the line.
He let down
again.
really good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it's a cut in the ground.
Yeah, well, that was
I'm sure that helped him.
5 back to 4, but it had good cut. You could see it. So
I'm sure that he's better with a little bit of cut in the ground.
First
the whole breeder.
First go at 15 too, which was good. So
he needs a mile further.
Well, I had a look through the calendar, and because he's a 3-year-old racing outside his age group, there is a 3-year-old Super Famous 1500 benchmark 64 at Moonee Valley in about 23 days.
Oh, well.
I don't know whether he's come off a bit of a break before and ran well when we won at Sandown, so whether we can...
Well, he's had 2 runs in a week, hasn't he?
Well, he's had 4 in 9 days, so where we might be able to plan for that. I think the Valley would suit that horse.
When's that?
23rd. So it's a little
3
bit
weeks.
away, yeah.
It's an option.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was pleasing to see him come back a bit there and find some form. And as you said, he got well beaten by a pretty smart horse on the day, but I'm sure riding more positive and a little bit of cut in the ground certainly helped.
Yep.
And you'd think Moonee Valley would also suit that sort of horse.
Yep. Today, as we're here...
Where are you going?
I'm going to Terang.
Terang today to see... Equieto.
With
last chance.
Well...
Come on, Pete. Last chance. This can't go on forever. You tell him he's working well, the trainer's happy with him.
Yeah, well, that's all the word.
I need to see it on the track.
He ruled a line through the last run. There's another line.
Another pencil.
But today, I think there's 3 scratching. Field of 8. We have drawn 7 or 8. But we've got Daniel Stackhouse on, the senior rider. We're going to be positive from the gate, regardless. So we're going to throw caution to the wind, Darren. None of this sitting back and riding them pretty.
Well, it hasn't worked.
His 2 wings have led all the way, or he's half carted outside the leader, so I think we put him in the race, taken the blinkers off, with a one-eyed checker blinker thing on. I think just
desperation stakes, I reckon.
It's a sign we're going forward anyway, but look, good credit to Paul, he's having a crack, we'll just see what happens. He can run really well today and still finish 3rd or 4th, because it's not a bad 64, if that makes sense. There's a couple in there with a bit of form, but I expect him to run well, Darren.
Last chance, I say. Want to do something?
Don't annoy the owners.
Come on.
Tomorrow night, you've had enough to say on that event.
Cut off?
Yeah. Tomorrow night I'll go and see Stringer Bell kick off his preparation after a long preparation in the sand at Malden.
This is probably our first horse coming off a weird prep.
We did have
a full prep.
Penthouse Playboy was into it before.
Not a proper prep.
No, not a prep. So
we'll find out if this works.
Well, Darren Weir did say that he expects, and he's had a little bit of information back, that they take 2 or 3 runs to find their speed.
Excuses already.
Yeah, well, we've drawn 10 anyway.
So do we get the pencil out?
No pencil. He'll run well. We run well. So he's drawn 10. It's a non-hoisted apprentices cup thing. So we've got Ethan Brown.
An apprentices race. You know what that means, doesn't it?
Ethan Brown.
34 suspensions. Horses getting knocked over left, right and centre.
Ethan Brown's probably one of our better apprentices.
See how he just chose to ignore me?
Yeah, I've got used to that over 3 or 4 years.
Okay, all right. So we got an apprentices race.
We've got Michelle here in the background. Let's see if she wants to jump on camera.
She's probably finished picking up the paddock.
Gonna spread out some dust.
So yeah, look, I think he's going to be ridden to run on.
Okay.
Take my word. Nothing Friday at Maui. Saturday at Kyneton. Serious Suspect will have his second start.
He'll start favourite.
I don't know if he will, Darren.
Who'd you put on him?
Well, we've got a choice. I've opted for Johnny Allen.
Yeah.
It was Jack Hill.
Yeah.
Brad Rawiller.
Well, I don't want Jack Hill because he beat us yesterday.
Yeah. So there you go. We're going to still discuss that.
Right. So he was massive first up.
He was in a good form race. The thing that ran sixth in that one yesterday, and the winner ran second yesterday.
It's immoral.
And Weary's got one today that was in that race that ran fourth. So
Back it.
there was a horse in it that ran second to Cliff's Edge that was scratched from yesterday to go to our race on Saturday. So
Come on.
Weary with a good chance. Nice
Better
horse.
draw good.
Hopefully draws 3 or 4.
You're in that horse, aren't you?
No, I got a little bloody
You're in it.
one of his.
Yeah, you're always
400
understated, I reckon.
I don't get it. I hope he wins. We'll have a barrage.
You're just
there on
trying to
Saturday.
get. He's trying to get the odds, guys. He's trying to get the odds for himself.
There's a bit-
I reckon it's immoral. Come on, put it up $1.40.
Yeah.
He won't be able to pay his rent.
Sunday and sale, nothing. We'll move on, Darren. Monday day racing, so
Good.
with sale Sunday and Monday, that's 2 days of day racing.
Yeah, we don't want to be going there.
And then nothing probably till Thursday,
Okay.
which will be, I think we mentioned before, My Shiny Choice.
My shiny choice.
Yep. I did get a text just before we went on. I think Babe's galloping tomorrow, or trialling tomorrow at Terrain.
Oh, right.
So he's not far away because he's actually already had a trial.
Yeah, he has.
So that's good to get him back. Be interesting because the switch to the beach, we already thought was a good thing for him.
Well, he was struggling in the heat at Malvern.
Yeah, so he'd be looking for some cover
He'd be
today.
wanting to go back there now. It's cold here, it'll be freezing and warnable.
That's about all I got from that point of view. I don't know. There's trials next week, but I've got no idea what at this stage. So.
Now, we were all trying to get hold of you on Monday, Pete. No one could get hold of you. It seemed that your phone was constantly engaged. Your emails were bouncing back. What happened?
It's a low productivity day, Darren.
Nothing
Because of
happened.
you.
Oh, because of me.
Sent a message out about something about me celebrating a birthday.
Well, it was your birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it wasn't my 60th.
Well, I said
5.
approaching 60.
5-3, can't even do it. 53, guys.
Nah, that's not right.
To everyone
That's not right.
Everyone that rode on his coattails, or up yours, all the ones that said nice gestures, thank you. I think it was about 400 messages I had to get
I know
through.
maths is not your strong point,
Yeah, what?
but you were born in...
65.
No, you weren't. I saw your licence. I saw you on the rego form.
I can prove
Oh,
this.
you've got 5 licences. That counts for nothing.
Keep,
Hey?
going, keep talking for a
Keep
minute.
talking.
Keep
Oh,
talking.
see, we know you're pushing 60.
Don't worry about the ugly head.
That doesn't mean nothing.
Where's the date?
See, it's got no date. It's on the back, you fool.
No, that's there somewhere.
You're
Right?
looking at it. Oh, well. Anyway, happy birthday to all the people at ATB. It was nice to be recognised.
Yeah, it was.
I was really pleased that so many people agreed that they thought you were pushing 60.
Yeah,
That was the interesting bit.
the buggers that just took it for granted that I was.
Well,
Your updates are going out to 6 weekly.
yeah, well, they'll be impressed. That's an improvement.
I knew there was a lot coming. No,
And,
look, had
look-
a good day.
I know my birthday's coming up, and I'm sure payback will be happening.
Well,
I'm sure you got 4 weeks to work out something, Pete.
My Beck said to me, she said, now, wear your medicine, take it, swallow it, forget about it, because you started this,
Yep.
which I did send a little, I
Yes.
was more kinder. Mine was just text Darren to say happy birthday.
Yeah, well, I waited patiently to get even.
It's like
I had to wait 11 months, but I got him.
You were like a sniper in the bloody trees.
So you can go hard, because I'll just go harder.
Anyway, I think it woke up a lot of our owners anyway.
On a
and-
Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty happy
No,
about it.
I had a good day, so all things considered, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, like I said, there were some nice messages that come
The
through.
kids weren't too happy, apparently.
Why's that?
Well, you took them out for dinner, and you spent your whole time on the phone.
Yeah, I was still answering them at 8 o'clock at night, but they were happy in the playground area.
Oh,
so,
that's good. That's
no, it was good. It was
No, well done. All right, now last week's question was we
Homework?
want a little bit. We want to know a little bit about Robbie Griffiths and his brother Rodney, and
Yep.
given that you spent half a day down there this week videoing all the horses in training with him that we have, you recorded the following interview, which
Thought it was a bit easier than me.
Summarises.
So Robbie gave a lot on himself and a bit on Rodney, and it was a good little 5-minute segment.
so if you want to know a little bit more about Robbie Griffiths and his brother Rodney, who was one of the great jockeys of the modern era, have a listen to this.
Rob, thanks for participating in this. Your background, obviously your family, right back to, I think your dad was a breaker, is that right? We go way back to your involvement where it first started.
Yeah, well, brief snapshot of me, Pete. Those that are in the breeding business know that the breeding season in racing is August 1, so I'm an early foal, August the 6th, 1969, born at 4:15 in the morning. And I think I've been getting up pretty much the same time ever since. But yeah, come from a racing family. Dad wanted to be a jockey, too big for that. So he ended up breaking and training himself, trained Group 2 winners and Group 1 place getters. So he's enjoyed his training, but he mainly specialised in breaking. So we used to help Dad, my brother and I. My brother, Rodney's 2 years older than me. He was a champion jockey. Always wanted to be a jockey, rode all around the world, rode for the Kings and Queens and travelled all around Europe and had a great time there. So I tried to follow in his footsteps, got a little bit of the way, but weight stood in my direction, in my path, and it still does actually. I've still got a weight problem these days, Pete. But,
killed my jockey career too, Rob.
but loved it, loved every minute of it. You know, went into the stables at 14, and unfortunately, you know, went in at 33 kilos and knee idle grasshopper, size 4 foot. Next minute I'm a size 8 foot and a bit taller and struggling with weight. So
250 winners,
yeah, 250. It was a great fun. It was a massive adrenaline rush being a jockey. It was a huge amount of fun. But knowing that I wasn't going to be in the saddle forever, I was lucky that I started my apprenticeship and moved to Epsom Training Centre, which was the mecca at the time, and there were so many champions there. You know, Manicato and the like were there, so I got to see all these wonderful trainers, and I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do one day. And that day come forward a little bit sooner than we thought, and I started training quite young as a consequence of that. But yeah, loved the riding. You know, loved following what Rodney did. He was a jockey through and through. And
1,400 odd winners, Rodney, and 7 Group 1s.
More than that.
No,
he had 16 Group 1s. 16
Group 1s, there you go. Google's not always right.
No, not always right. Well, he rode several in Europe. You know. He won the Golden Slipper equivalent called Heinz 57 on a horse called Bredorn Breber for Kebra Prendergast in Ireland. And so he rode several Group 1 winners in Ireland and throughout the Europe. And then he come back here and he rode Group 1 doubles. He won the Principality, Blue Diamond, and the same day won on Scalacci in the Futurity. So he was certainly at his best. I think, well, I can't remember what year it was, might have been 93, 94 something like that, but I think at one stage he was leading Group 1 rider for the season, So, when you're talking those type of accolades, it's big stuff. So it was great to watch.
Unfortunately, injury that curtailed Rodney's career back in late 90s, have you right?
Yeah, he had some nasty falls, one in particular at Caulfield, and he's still, unfortunately for him, paying sort of negativity to that these days. He has a lot of neck and spinal trouble from he actually crushed, I think it was the 4th and 6th vertebrae, like Damien Oliver did at Moonee Valley that night. And he's never been the same. He gets a lot of damage and nerve sort of negativity and pain there. But he now works in a coffee shop, helps my mum. Mum's got a coffee shop. He makes a mean coffee, so he's good at that.
Might have to call in.
Yeah, well, it suits him well because all the racing folk are up and at it early in the morning, so he gets to speak to everyone as they go to track. And
so it's his little connection back with racing.
And he follows the stable naturally. And he'd love to work in it, but because of his neck and back, he sort of can't do what he used to. But he follows all of the runners, and no, it's good. He's part of racing still in a different way.
And son Ryan's involved with you?
Yeah, young Ryan. I don't know where the size come from there, but Rodney's 5'3" and Kerry's 5'1", and Ryan's 6 foot. But our nephew Ryan, Rodney's boy, is 23, and he's showing a lot of interest in racing. And you'll often see him at the races. He's a hell of a nice young guy, and he's very personable and gets amongst the action. You actually seen him interview when Mr. Moneybags won a Fleming.
That's right, he loved it.
Yeah, he loved it. And he loved seeing all the yellow jackets everywhere. And so Ryan's showing an interest now, which is great. So it's certainly a family business, and with my sister in the business, and my brother-in-law's Reed Belfer, who you see at the races, our foreman. So there's quite a family business.
Just going back, though, obviously the training's been big now for the last 20 odd years for yourself. Might be longer, 28 maybe, 26?
26 years.
There's a common denominator there. Google, if I can trust it, Tony Vassell, and obviously there was trainers like George Hanlon, etc., and those that Rodney was involved with riding, but obviously Tony Vassell, both of you have been involved with Tony back early days? Yeah,
well, I was quite fortunate when I started riding for Tony. Tony was a 12-horse stable, and he is a young emerging talent that on the way up. So I had success with Tony, and as his business was growing, my weight was increasing, and I introduced him to Rodney, and that's sort of how the connections took up there. And so I was very lucky that I was stable rider for Tony for a period, and then we had some great success. And we all know Tony's record now. He's had a wonderful career as a trainer. So yeah, we had some really good success stories there.
Beautiful. Just back now talking today. So how many does Robbie Griffiths train?
We've got 60 horses here, Peter. We have a 100-horse system, which the other 40 are spread between pre-work and rehab and spelling and all that sort of stuff. It's normally around a 100-horse system. It goes up and down a little bit. During the yearling buying session, you might go and buy another 20 yearlings and then sell off 20 each year and so on. So that's sort of how we work it. So we're, surprisingly enough, we're probably a medium-sized stable. Some of the stables these days are really big and they buy 100, 150, 200 yearlings. But we try to bring that sort of 20 to 30 through, and that's about us. And it works really well. It's a great stable. It's a really good environment. The horses are happy, and it suits us.
Staff?
Yeah, the staff are happy.
Yep.
They're here a long time. They don't go. So
good staff too. They brought me out some birthday cakes. I'm happy with that. And you're big with the Super Vobis, Vobis Gold. Obviously, that's a huge thing for Victoria, and you certainly eye those types of horses. Oh,
definitely. If you've got a choice of two horses that you like, one's Vobis and one's not, you're going to go for the Vobis horse if you can secure the horse, because it's so much more income. I mean, I didn't go to Karaka this week because a Super Vobis Gold horse can earn 3 times the money of a Karaka horse. So with that in mind, you look at the money that Mr. Moneybags won at Flemington. And if we can buy horses like when Darren and I have been at the sales with Chris, we'll try and buy a good Vobis horse. And if that can make a self-funding model for that ownership group, well, they're going to stay in racing a lot longer, and it makes it more affordable to buy the next one and so on. So it's a really good model, the Vobis model.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob, for your time. I'll just throw one at you. Cox Plate, Melbourne Cup, Golden Slipper. Which one?
Can I be greedy and say all?
As long as they're ATB colours, I don't think we'll mind, Rob.
Oh, I'm very happy with that.
Good on you. Thanks for your time.
Good on you, Pete. Thank you.
All right, Pete. Well, that was really interesting, wasn't it? You learned a lot.
Yeah, no, Google wasn't quite right there. I think they never took into account Rodney's European record, which he rode 8 or 9 winners over there.
Well, I didn't even know he rode over there.
Yeah, and rode for the Queen, as Robbie mentioned.
Great story.
7 Group 1s and I think 3 Group 1s on one day at Caulfield. So, I mean,
I remember that. He was a money rider.
Yeah, and
that's why Robbie's got so much, because he was punting.
Yeah, and look, it's obviously a good racing family. They stem back from when they were kids, and Robbie's obviously flying now as a trainer, and Rod's still around the peripheries, but the injury, it sort of curtails him from getting involved hands-on. But
it's interesting, you got horses with someone like Robbie Griffiths, but you don't really know the full background story, do you? Until you dig into it a bit.
Yep.
So, on the theme of that, I thought it might be interesting for you to do a similar piece around Michelle Payne.
Righto.
She's got a couple of books out, and she's ridden a Melbourne Cup winner. And
I'll be here for 2 weeks.
She was raised in a big family, so
all right, well,
I'm sure you can... we all know she started training and she still is riding for the time being, even though that doesn't look like it's going to be happening for much longer. But I think it'd be interesting just to find out a little bit about the background of Michelle Payne for our listeners.
Well, I reckon that'd be good. Less of us next week and more of Michelle.
Well, I don't know about that.
Why is that?
It's going to be hard to top that Robbie Griffiths interview.
Oh no, we'll get there.
You're going to have to ask some key, insightful questions.
I might have to get the hat off and get the hair, do the Ray Martin look-alike.
Well, maybe you and her, maybe you can do it out in the paddock picking up manure,
Well, me picking it up while Michelle's there. Yeah, no. We'll work on that,
anyway, let's dig into Michelle Payne's background and find out a little bit about her.
Yep.
Well, until next week, I'm Darren Dance with the birthday boy, Peter Morganti.
35 and looking good.
Dream on.